Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. The lights are really bright, and you know, the good news is they give me these speeches, but I don't usually read them verbatim anyway, so that's a good thing. You know, I'm really excited to be here today. Of course, Gary Acosta is a longtime friend and was certainly helpful in helping me get to where I am today. And I am thankful for his and all of your passionate voices to keep us grounded in the realities of Hispanic home buying. And I'm also grateful to see today's release of the State of Hispanic Homeownership report. You may not know this, but those of us in government really look forward to these reports every year. They help us know what's happening, where we are, and where we need to get to. And, you know, a lot of people have mentioned that homeownership number is now close to 50%. So I say, if we're all here again next year, let's make sure that we are over 50% at that point. So there's a few other milestones I want to mention that have been reached lately. The first one has to do with President Biden's State of the Union address. Did y'all listen to that? Okay, so it's kind of an inside the Beltway parlor game where everybody's trying to see if they can get their stuff in the State of the Union address and how much of it is in there. And this year, we got not one sentence about housing, not two sentences about housing, we got 5 sentences about housing. I mean, in Washington speak, that's a huge win, and it means that really across all of our government, we are aware that there is a crisis in the housing market right now. The rents are too high and homeownership is too unaffordable. And what we are doing is pulling out all the stops to try to change both of those things. And I was so excited to listen to the speech, and now I feel really energized to go out and try to sell everybody on the important actions that we can still take to help folks who want to achieve that dream of homeownership. We know that homeownership still remains the single greatest driver of wealth creation, and it gives individuals and families that stability and the platform on which to build the lives that they want to have in the communities that they want to live in and invest in. We know that that's true for those who have been in this country for generations, and it's true for those who are recently arrived. Everybody wants that sense of home. And at FHA, we pride ourselves in serving people looking to buy their very first home. As you may know, the vast majority of the loans that we insure at the Federal Housing Administration are loans to first-time home buyers. We make loans to Hispanic borrowers at really twice the rate of any other channel. And last year, more than 15% of our entire loan volume was mortgages to people who self-identified as Hispanic, which is many percentage points higher than some other demographics. And this goes beyond just FHA, because HUD's Office of Housing Counseling also has a network of housing counseling agencies who are working every day within communities to reach prospective homeowners. And because I like to go out to these speeches and make some news, I do want to make an announcement, which is today, HUD is awarding $2.75 million in grants to 7 housing counseling organizations to further their training for counselors to get people into homeownership. And I should mention this includes $240 million to Unidos US for their work serving Latino and other households exploring homeownership. So this is just one example of the ways that FHA is trying to level the playing field for all borrowers and remove the barriers that prevent people from getting into homeownership. Probably the most impactful thing we've done since I've been in this position is the 35% reduction in our mortgage insurance premiums that happened around this time last year. So far, we've served more than 680,000 borrowers with our new lower prices, which will save over time nearly $600 million on their mortgage payments. So this price cut, along with our flexibility on credit scores and debt-to-income ratios, is why the State of Hispanic Homeownership Report finds that FHA financing is so much more attractive in today's high interest rate environment. Now, getting that cut was important, but it isn't the only thing we've done. We've focused on a variety of issues in terms of access to credit. We, last year, made a change so that our underwriting process could give buyers credit for their positive rental history. And what we've learned, we just ran some numbers a couple of months ago, and we learned this is actually succeeding in getting thousands more borrowers across that line who probably would have been a denial earlier and now are living in their first home. So we're very excited. We're also spending a lot of time on alternative housing strategies that we think bring more affordability. For example, we are very focused on manufactured housing. And, you know, today's manufactured housing, as they say, is not your grandfather's manufactured housing. You know, some of these new units, you can, I will dare any of you to take a test to see if you can distinguish them from a site-built home. And so a couple of weeks ago, this administration announced a package specifically to support manufactured housing. HUD has a brand new grant program called the Price Fund that's going to support the preservation and revitalization of manufactured home communities, which you know needs it. And here at FHA, we also announced that we're going to do some new things too on the financing side. In particular, we're going to recalculate loan limits for our Title I financing for manufactured homes, which helps people buy those homes as personal property. And another announcement, because y'all are important enough that you get 2 announcements, not just one. I'm really excited to announce that we're going to actually publish those new Title I loan limits this week, and those increases are going to bring the limits into alignment with current market prices, and it's going to index them so that we don't have to fall behind ever again. Another way that we're both increasing housing supply and helping make qualifying for a home easier is with our new accessory dwelling unit policy. We will now count the rental income from an ADU, but not only will we count the rental income from an ADU that's already in or at the home and already has a tenant, but we will count a portion of prospective income as well if a buyer wants to buy a house where they can create an ADU, and that can help them qualify for the house. And we know that for many people, and nowhere is this more true than for the immigrant community, owning a home and also having a rental unit has been a really effective way to build wealth. So there's lots more to come. Some of you may know on the loss mitigation side, because of course we don't want people to just get into homes, we want them to be able to stay in homes. We announced a brand new product that we just invented, and we invented it because the typical loan modification that we were offering was no longer working because so many people had a mortgage rate that was much lower than today's prevailing rates. So we created something new called the Payment Supplement Partial Claim, which enables folks to temporarily buy down their monthly payments for up to 3 years while they get back on their feet after their hardship. So there's this thing blinking on me that I'm, out of time here. So I just want to say, yeah, I love to talk about what we do because it's so fun. And we're always doing more great things. And in the coming months, you're going to see a few more really wonderful policies roll out. You will see an updated renovation loan program roll out. That's our 203K product. And that helps people buy homes that need some work. And you know that almost 50% of our homes are 50 years old or older. And those homes need a little TLC. And this product will help people do that. We are going to update our servicer fee for processing assumptions. And we are going to finalize a new and permanent loss mitigation waterfall to replace the COVID waterfall for when that expires. And so as I wrap up here, I just want to ask for your help with something, which is that there are a lot of myths and misinformation out there about FHA, and I need your help to change that. For example, FHA mortgages don't take any longer to close than any other mortgage. FHA deals don't fall through any more than any other mortgage. And while we do have those minimum property standards because we're protecting the first-time home buyers and low-income home buyers who come into homes, you may not have checked those requirements in years. We've really minimized them. When somebody talks to you about handrails, we don't require the handrails anymore. We also provide waivers for any of those requirements if you have a good reason for them. So I'm going to wrap up now because I think Nuria has some questions for me, and I'd love to, to sit down and talk. Again, just want to emphasize the Biden-Harris administration is committed to ensuring that the American dream remains available to all who seek it. And we will continue to tear down those barriers while building new on-ramps so more Hispanic families can build wealth and access the stability of owning their own home. Thank you so much.
Can we please give it up for our commissioner, FHA, everybody? Buenos dias, familia. I don't know if I want to congratulate you on the 5 sentences that you received. In a way I want to, and in another way, we're in a crisis. So, no, but thank you for sharing all of the information you shared with us in regards to the solutions that you have when it comes to this affordability crisis. I really, the manufactured housing with the loan limits, the rental income with ADU. I love that you have $2.75 million in grants available. That's fantastic. And so many more solutions. Is there anything, I know you kind of ran out of time. Is there anything else you'd like to add to what your department's doing for solutions in this area?
So we're working on so many fronts because it's a new world. There are things that matter that aren't so sexy to talk about, like IT modernization. And that will eventually help everybody who works within our ecosystem. But it's just hard work behind the scenes, and I have an incredible team working on this. We are working on all fronts, including really revamping and strengthening our reverse mortgage program, which I got clapping.
Yes.
I know that's a very small program that most of you are not that familiar with, but with the aging of the population, if you want to learn more about it, just let us know. We're really trying to make it a safer and stronger program.
I love that. Now, loans to first-time minority homebuyers tend to be smaller. They're a little more challenging, intensive, and those factors make lending to diverse communities less profitable as well. How does FHA ensure that there are adequate incentives for lenders to make those tougher loans?
Well, that's a great question. And I will say that for the most part, our loans are often much bigger than you think they are. If you look at our loan limits, they're pretty high. And so the fact is, in many cases, an FHA loan is not a smaller loan. So folks shouldn't be disincentivized for that reason. But because we know that generally speaking, our median mortgage size is going to be lower than the conventional market, that's why we're trying to make it ever easier for our business partners to work with us, for lenders who participate in this program. That's why working on the IT is so important, and that's why we're changing so many policies to make it easier for lenders to do business with us, because those are the frictions we want to eliminate that will help keep folks out there making the loans. But really, I think there is no more important issue than what I identified at the end of my remarks, which is essentially the discrimination against FHA loans. And I really need your help on that, because you're there. Buyers need to understand this is not second-class credit, and sellers need to understand that working with us is not going to delay or otherwise interrupt their ability to sell. There is an issue that lots of you will talk to me about at some time during the year, which is the idea of the, quote, life of loan premium. And that's one thing that people point to when they say, well, you'd rather have a Fannie Mae loan or whatever it is. And I actually think it's really important to point out that when you get a Fannie Mae loan, you're paying for two kinds of insurance. You're paying for private mortgage insurance, what people call PMI, that only covers you until you get down to a certain loan-to-value ratio. But that G fee, that guarantee fee that they charge, that's baked into your rate where you can't even see it. Our mortgage insurance premium is actually more like the G fee, because we insure these loans all the way, throughout the life of the loan. Our insurance doesn't go away when you hit a certain LTV. And so when people compare the fact that PMI rolls off with the fact that our insurance doesn't roll off, what I would suggest to you is actually compare the prices through the life of the loan and make sure you're giving that borrower the best execution.
That's some great advice. How many of you knew that before? Nobody here. So thank you for sharing that. Also, I just want to ask our audience, how many of you, for the most part, use FHA loans for our Latino community by the raise of hands? Okay, this is good. And you mentioned that in your portfolio, was it 15%?
Yeah, it's more than
going
15%.
to Latino communities?
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
So I know in my business, we see many FHA loans, so we're right behind you, and we appreciate you. So diversity in this industry has been a problem for a long time. Does FHA track the number of Latino and Black-led mortgage companies that are active with FHA? And are there any plans to help increase the number of Latino and Black-led companies in the industry?
So as far as I know, and if there is a good indication of this, let me know about it. There's no sort of formal definition of that kind of lender. that we could just ask for when we qualify a lender to be with us. We do know that because of the nature of our business, we work with many, many, many lenders who specialize in reaching communities of color and other underserved populations out there. We want to keep doing that. We especially want to make our program easier to interface with for CDFIs and other minority serving institutions, and that we can count. And I know that Ginnie Mae also wants to make it easier to do business with them. So that's a really important piece, but it's a small piece. And we're certainly open if there is some particular definition that we can track, come talk to us about that.
Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. How can communities and organizations collaborate with your department to support efforts to expand the homeownership opportunities, particularly in areas constrained with the inventory and the affordability issues?
Well, so first, I want everyone to know that NAHREP actually has a regular call, not just with me, but with all the senior leadership in my office. So you've got to line in. If you have something that you want to hear about, tell the NAHREP folks about it, and they'll bring it to us in one of those regular calls. But more important, we are running what is probably the most transparent FHA that I can remember. We obviously, when we do rulemaking, it's out for public comment, but also many of our policies that don't require rulemaking, we put out on something called the drafting table, which is where we give the public a preview of our policy so you can provide feedback to us before we set that policy into stone. And we want to hear from more of you during all of these processes. Make sure you're signed up to get emails from FHA. We'll notify you when there's an opportunity either for public comment on a rule, which is rulemaking is called public comment. It's a special phrase. And when we use the drafting table, it's called feedback. But it's all the same thing, which is us hearing from you how our policies are working on the ground. And we really want to hear more from you.
That's wonderful. I also didn't know that, so thank you for sharing that, Commissioner. So your voice matters is what she's saying. So if you have a question or a comment on an issue, you can go directly to you. That's wonderful. I know you touched a little bit on the positive rent history. Can you tell us just a little bit more about that? Because I think that's wonderful.
Sure. Well, you know, in some future world, we are going to be able to do much fancier things with our underwriting that I think is really going to open up homeownership for for a lot of people. But we're not in that fancy technology world yet. And at FHA, our budget for technology, you know, it's better than it's been, and I want to thank Congress for that. But it's still pretty minimal compared to what we do. So we decided to not let the perfect be the enemy of the good, which frankly that's really my mantra and a way that that's how we've gotten out so much policy in the 2 years I've been doing this. And for the positive rental history, we decided we would just be able to have a checkbox in our underwriting engine, in the total scorecard, so that we would know if somebody had that history of paying their rent. Because we know that if you've been paying your rent, you're pretty likely to be paying your mortgage. And so we went out with this, pretty low-tech approach. And when we started doing the numbers a couple of months ago, we found out, hey, it's working pretty much as we imagined it would. So I was really excited about that.
That is fantastic news. Doesn't that excite you guys? Yes. So thank you so much for your time. You've been wonderful. We appreciate your work, and it's been a pleasure to share this moment with you. Can we please give her a huge round of applause? Everybody, FHA Commissioner Julia Gordon.